Hey there, McAllister here with Toasty DIY, and today I just want to do a quick video over how to research before you buy. If you're like me, I bounce between hobbies. I love tabletop. I at one point was doing embroidery for different shirts. I wanted to make my own shirts. Then I wanted to get into 3D printing, and I had a 3D printer. I had a resin printer. I got into instruments. I owned a guitar. I've owned multiple guitars actually. I've owned keyboards. I've owned, I've almost owned an accordion. I just love dancing between hobbies, and in doing so, I've come up with a way that I like to quickly find out how to get into a hobby so that I can just spend as little time thinking about it and more time doing it. And this has helped me purchase things quicker than I might have should in the past, but it has been fun and I enjoy doing it. So I just wanted to talk about that. So what you'll be seeing here is some video in the background of me researching cameras. Recently, Jackson has gotten into film cameras. A good friend of mine, Jack, has gotten into film cameras. Another buddy of mine, he's also into them. So a bunch of people that I know into film cameras. Probably best one I know is actually Tyler in the back here of PC Bros. He really gets how to use them, that composition, that framing, does a great job. And I think what he does is really cool. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm jealous. I've been seeing people do it and I want to try it out. So I thought about asking them for their advice, and that is fun and all. And I do like hearing what they have to say. But I also enjoy doing my own research and purchasing something based on my own decision. So what I do typically is I will look up the thing I want to buy, right? So if I look up film cameras, I'll look up film cameras for beginners or film cameras for that. And I'll open a bunch of links to places that I think might sell them. I'll open a bunch of links to videos where people talk about them. And I'm looking for things that to quickly nix or to add. So right now I know none of the terminology for a film camera. This is McAllister in the future who's read through this stuff, so now I know some things, but I didn't really know. And the one thing I kept saying was before I even had typed it in, the word 35 millimeter kept popping up everywhere. So my assumption is that must be a very broadly used one. And sure enough, the videos that you see start to mention 35 millimeters. So what I did is I figured, okay, well, 35 millimeters probably where I want to start. And then I started watching videos and I saw they said SLR is more like your digital camera. And sometimes what it makes easy is when you get into something, you're like, do I want to go acoustic or electric for a guitar? And then it's like, well, do you want to, then you have the option of Fender, Gibson, Taylor, all these different things. And it's just easier at some point to start nixing things off or be like, just commit. And I heard SLR, and I'm like, in every single hobby, for the most part, there's a version of it that is the cheaper way to get into it. You want to do record players? Buy the briefcase record player. It comes with its own speakers built in and everything. There's always the budget version of everything. So when I saw SLR, it's more like modern day, I thought that'd be cool. So I took notes of that, and then I started looking up 35 millimeter videos of those cameras. And then I end up with just taking lists of names of cameras that I see that they say are good, and then I look for brand names that match up. Like if I don't hear a brand mentioned in any video, then I assume it's either obscure for reasons of they either just never took off or didn't have customer service or those cameras aren't around anymore, or because they're expensive, so they're premier top of the line. So if I'm not hearing the name commonly mentioned in these beginner videos, I'm kind of ignoring it. So after that, I saw there was this difference between rangefinder cameras and just normal, the more normal besides novelty ones like the 3D cameras. And as soon as I saw that, I didn't want to do disposable ones either. So I was like, all right, cool. Now I know what an SLR 35 millimeter film camera. So from here, I know lenses because of my experience with my own personal camera research I've done in the past. So I'm like, cool. I know now I just need to go to what kind of body I want. So I look up video of top 5 budget cameras and do this. Reddit's also extremely helpful. I'll scroll through Reddit to see if there's anything people are said on there already that got upvoted a lot, that got talked about. And a lot of times they'll bring up different issues, whatever their point of passion is. Maybe you have a guy, you ask, what film camera should I use? And one guy will be like, doesn't matter what you use. It's all about the film, baby. And that person probably does have some good notes about film, or maybe at least has some anecdotes about things that you didn't even consider. What color grade does your film usually look like? Is it usually too blue? They'll tell you. But here I was able to pick up some names of some cheaper brands. They said, oh, buy these brands when you're starting to do it for cheap. And it's like, cool. You mark that down, that you have a little bit extra info, and you just nab these bits. You never take one person as gospel and assume that there could always be something wrong. But once you've started to narrow down that you want 35 millimeter, you want SLR, once you've nailed down that, you want a Canon, then it becomes much easier. So I was on B&H, or no, I was on KEH, not to be confused with B&H, both camera stores. And the problems was the price on there was they were all tested, so they cost a difference for that, testing and more efficient things they do. I wanted more of a deal, so I went to eBay, and at this point I knew kind of the brand name I liked and I knew the style I liked. And from there, really all I have to do is make the decision whether I want to do this now or later. I could always buy something smaller. I really like those handheld ones, but most of the ones that had on that website were inoperable. The ones that my handheld, had the lens already pre-installed on it. Those are pretty cool. But after a little bit of looking around, I found this deal here for 3 lenses, the camera itself. And I just thought, the little cases with it and the cool manual. I love the aesthetic. I've always found film cameras really cool looking. And so I pulled the trigger on this one. And I feel like I made a researched decision. It was one of the brands that was recommended in a lot of the videos as the K100. I'm excited to see it. It'll come in here in a few days. And maybe I'll make a camera video as well, or maybe Jackson and I can compare our cameras go out and do maybe a film walk or something. But I'm excited. So this is my main strategy for researching something before you buy. If you have some really good place you go, like a place that shares reviews that you think are very trustworthy or other like that, let me know down in the comments below. Anything that you do that's a good piece of research to do before you pull the trigger, that'd be awesome. So thank you all for watching. Any questions down below? Peace.